Hello, everyone. Excuse me, I'm going to double check my sound. Yes. Okay. Hi. I am Carla Sanders, the Cosmic Crone, and it is my delight to bring you the full moon divine feminine astrology reading for the Leo full moon. It happens this Thursday at 2:16 in the afternoon Eastern Time. So the sun will be high, and on the other side of the world, there will be a gorgeous full moon hanging in the sky. Oh, and I'm looking at this chart. It's intense because there are a lot of squares. A lot of things are a lot of planets and points are touched by this full moon. So what else is new? We have intense astrology, but somehow it's really beautiful. When I looked at the way these conjunctions and squares and aspects work together, I just kind of felt an heart-opening beauty. Let's start with the opposition itself. The full moon is an opposition between the sun and the moon. The moon is at 9 degrees and 5 minutes of Leo. And across the sky, the sun is at 9 degrees and 5 minutes of Aquarius. But the sun is not alone. The sun is also at 9 degrees within, like 13 degrees of the sun are the Lilith asteroid and Jupiter. This is big, really big. In fact, there is a stellium of planets over there in, actually including Chariklo. I think Chariklo is at 0 Aquarius at the same degree of the Saturn-Jupiter conjunction a few weeks ago. So that's 6 planets, 7 counting Mercury. Wow, that's a lot of planets in Aquarius. So what have we got in Aquarius? Mercury, Pallas Athene, Hecate, Jupiter, Lilith, asteroid, the Sun, Saturn, Chariklo. This is the gamut of human experience represented by these astrological points. And they are all in the sign of Aquarius, the sign of the collective, the sign of all of us here, the sign that stands for the good of humanity. If we could agree on what the good of humanity is, I think that is our challenge. If we look at the highest of the people, if we ascribe the highest motivations to everyone on the planet right now, everybody wants the same thing. We are just completely in a different state of beliefs over what that looks like and how that, what we need to do to get it, and how that relates to the earth and how we relate to other people on that path. So all of this diversity is in Aquarius, and opposite is the full moon. When I see something like this, I imagine sometimes it feels like, especially if there's one powerful planet opposite a cluster of planets across the sky, I see it like the one planet is flying a kite in a big wind, and the wind is pulling that string taut, and the other planet is working to hold on to all that energy, balance all that energy. And maybe because the moon is in Leo, which is associated with the royal child, the sun, the childhood and the playfulness and creativity of our being, I see it's more like a cluster of balloons. And so particularly these planets that are at 9 Aquarius, the sun is Leo, the ruler of Leo. So the moon and the sun are doing their dance that they do every month of mirroring each other, of being the most brilliant night light and the most brilliant daylight. And the sun is merging energies with Lilith, who is the disowned feminine, and Jupiter, who is expansive abundance, good fortune, and the expander of all things. So I always remind people, when Jupiter is involved, pay close attention to your state of mind, your thought processes, what you put out into the world in creative energy. Because Jupiter, by nature, will abundantly, generously expand whatever you give him, whatever thought forms you give him. So right now we have the disowned feminine merged with Jupiter. And it's kind of interesting. I am reading a book right now called Discovering the Inner Mother by Bethany Webster, and it is about healing the mother wound. And I've just started. I'm in the 2nd chapter. But it is something that I talk about a lot because this planet Lilith, Lilith asteroid, represents the internalized feminine wound, that part of all of us, but especially female humans, that says, there's something wrong with me. I am less than because I am female. The things that bring me joy and power and embodiment as a female human being are disowned, detached, numbed, considered evil, considered wrong, considered broken. Things like sexuality, magic, our very bodies, pleasure, our power as women and how we express that. So Lilith is right here being squeezed by the sun. She's being illuminated and warmed. And then Jupiter is saying all of that can get bigger. And the moon is across. So the moon often stands for emotional resonance, emotional runaway, emotions. And especially the full moon, sometimes it is a time when our emotions expand and bloom, possibly beyond what we feel like we can handle, especially if we are not embodied and we don't feel 100% confident in who we are. So the moon is holding that energy, reflecting that energy back. And I would take this full moon as an invitation to dip into that energy, to dip into, allow your emotions. Let the full moon give your emotions permission. If you feel anger over what has been repressed or disallowed in your life and your body, your desires, if you feel rage, if you feel grief, if you just feel like you want to let it out, and it might be this incredible dance of exuberance and joy, and then it flips, and then all of a sudden you're in the depths of something that feels really frightening, despairing, or out of control. you get to do that at this full moon. Do not judge yourself. Allow your emotions full reign. And the full moon, I love it if I can get together with a group at full moon. And we've not been doing much of that lately, but I take my drum out to the full moon and I drum and I call the names of my Priestess Path sisters, my Star Hive sisters, and my clients and my group of local sisters, and also men and my family members and the people I love. I draw that gathering to me by saying their names, and I feel, and sometimes I have a fire. So if you have the ability to do that, if you can light a fire in a barbecue, if you live in a house, or you can light a candle in an apartment, put the music up, get a drum, get a rattle, sing, dance, move. And if there's a way to be with people socially distanced, the full moon is a good time to do that kind of ritual and hold that space for one another. The full moon, the sun, Lilith, Jupiter, and the moon are in an aspect called a T-square to a bunch of planets over in Taurus. Now, there are 4 of these planets in a conjunction rather loose. What's really exciting to me is Black Moon Lilith is in an exact conjunction with Mars over in Taurus. They are less than 15 degrees apart. And what happens when Mars and Black Moon Lilith get together? Black Moon Lilith is so powerful. She is the goddess before patriarchy. That's how I understand her. She is that pure expression of the feminine before the patriarchy did that Lilith asteroid thing I just finished talking about, of saying, nope, you are in submission to the masculine. You must do as you're told. You must be quiet. You must not show up. Black Moon Lilith is showing up in all of that, all of these aspects of ourselves that are divine, that are fertile and creative and powerful, without which nothing is born or exists. She's sitting there with Mars. She's way more powerful than Mars. Mars is the warrior, the god who, the energy that he provides for us, all of us, is direction, decision, a fiery, fierce determination to go for the target, go for the goal, connect the dots, make the decision that eliminates distractions and gives us that forward moving energy. And he will go to battle if we need him to. And so when I see them together, and they just went over in Aries back at the end of 2020, they were hanging out together during Mars's retrograde. Black Moon Lilith was passing through Aries. So this is going to be a quick, they're meeting today or now at this full moon time, and then Mars moves on. But they had a real dance back in Aries. And when I saw that, I was saying, she is marshaling the resources. She needs that warrior energy to show up and hold the space for us, to help us create a society that we actually want to live in. And that relates back to the Aquarian energy that we've got going on. Because Aquarius is about the society that we want to live in. Taurus is about beauty, luxury, sensuality, the body. that sense of being grounded, of belonging here on earth, and the power of that. How when you, I think of something Starhawk once said to me, that the grass growing up in the spring, so young and new and pale green and vigorous and yet tender, is this masculine energy emerging. Boom! It's almost counterintuitive that could be Martian masculine energy, but that young grass is so determined and rises so straight. Well, that's what I see and feel here in Taurus, the Taurian energy, and Black Moon Lilith with Mars. She is saying, Mars, I need you. Raise your army. Raise your army for the good and the nourishment and the health of all earth, all people, all beings. And also in this for this quadruple conjunction, we have Albion, who is the thresholder. He holds the energy of birth, death, and sex. Very much a scorpionic being. And he's holding the invitation to cross over the threshold. Enter a new room. Enter, leave something behind, and embrace something that is new. And we are doing this all the time as human beings. Our whole life process on earth is one step after another of letting go and rebirthing, crossing those thresholds. And he is there with Uranus, who is saying, if you don't walk over, you'll be pushed or pulled. Uranus is actually a ruler of Aquarius in this modern era. So he is connecting to that energy. His relationship, he's 2 degrees. Yeah. He picks up that Saturn energy, because he's 2 degrees from a square of Saturn, and also 2 degrees from a square with the Sun, Lilith, and Jupiter. So how does that begin to play out? I think it plays out here as this divine feminine marshaling the Mars energy and saying it's time to step through a new door, individually, collectively. And Uranus is saying something really big is on the other side. Something really big and possibly unexpected is behind you, pushing you forward. Something scary and big is in front of you, pulling you forward through that door. And it feels like it's in conflict of the stability we want. That would be Saturn. And in reality, we are tasked with creating a new stability, a new set of rules, a new container, because we actually cannot live out of control. And remember that the Jupiter-Saturn conjunction is still active, that expansion of Jupiter and the control of Saturn, and that is the creative dynamic that we live in. And I used the metaphor of the pot, which an astrologer shared with me on my own astrology reading, because I have a relationship, a flow between Saturn and Jupiter in my chart. And so Jupiter is expanding and Saturn is holding it in so it doesn't fly off and spatter all over the wall. So as the divine feminine emerges and we feel things rearrange, because the patriarchal structure that we currently have will not fit. It cannot contain her. It will attempt to repress her. It will attempt to destroy her. And she is saying to Mars, Uranus, and now Saturn, get used to it. Once we get our new structures built, you'll see this will work out great. It will be so much better. I wonder, I just saw, didn't read the article carefully, but I just saw an announcement that BlackRock's CEO, they are this huge energy company, oil-based petrochemical company. He just said, I really call on everybody to commit to reducing or eliminating carbon emissions by 2050. Well, bro, I think it might be too late by then, so we need to speed that up a little more. However, he's at least acknowledging it. He's acknowledging, I think the smart people in the world could say, God, if only they had gotten it in the 60s and the 70s, the first oil embargo, when we realized we needed to rethink the way we do modern life and technology, we could have been so much further along. So, the fact is, this world, we can create structures, systems, ways of being, technologies, and economies that are more just, that are not even more just. Let's aim for all the way just, all the way just, all the way peaceful, all the way collaborating and preserving and working with as part of nature. Somehow I see that here. And that is emphasized somewhat by Vesta over at 21 Virgo in exact opposition to Ceres, who is just winding up a conjunction with Neptune. So a vision of the earth. How do we get a vision of the earth? I think we do it by watching, listening, feeling, immersing ourselves in nature and realizing that we are she is us. We are not separated. We are not dominant. We are a keystone species. Our role is unique in that way. We are the keystone, probably, of all keystones, and certainly everything we do as human beings, every decision we make, impacts every other species and environment and habitat on the planet. We have to know that, and that is why we have to be collaborators, partners, and lovers of the earth in this way. And so what else is happening simultaneously? Black Moon Lilith is in an exact sextile to Nessus, which is the challenge, the healing challenge. And it feels to me that this is directed at this Leo full moon with healing, how the traumas of the past are percolating through society and the earth as a whole. Very much in keeping on theme. It is tied in to the, it is tied in to the T-square of the full moon, and it is tied in, Nessus is in a square to Juno, conjunct the great attractor. Juno stands for social justice, the good of women and children, the sacred marriage of masculine and feminine, and oh, by the way, money. Our resources throughout society need to shift in priority in a big way, a much bigger way than we ever have. And Nessus, the one who represents the trauma, is in a square to that. And there is a great urge to say, let us care for the mothers and the children. Let us care of all the species. And Nessus is still in conflict. He's saying, oh, who can afford that? Or what are they doing for society? How are they helping the bottom line in productivity? Well, this is, Black Moon Lilith is saying, Nessus, get it done. Nessus is still saying, okay, but only this much, no more, because they're deadbeats. Children are not deadbeats. Mothers are not deadbeats. Everything depends on them. So start acting like it. Meanwhile, Algol over in Taurus, she is a star. She represents the eye of Medusa, the Lilith star, the demonized goddess. She is considered an evil omen when you look at her, and yet you look at her, you let her in. She touches, she shines a light on that disowned feminine inside of you, and the minute you see it and activate it, it blows up as power. And once again, that is a Uranian impact. And it's happening inside of us. So that star is in an exquisite flow to one of the most potent conjunctions ever. Venus is in an exact conjunction within minutes of Pluto on this full moon. And it's already active now. It's happening now. So what does that mean? Sex, death, and transformation plugged into beauty, the goddess, the divine feminine, the Queen of Heaven. The Queen of Heaven, right now, she's gone behind the sun. She is working her way towards her exterior conjunction, and she's going to be out of sight for 3 months, and I already miss her. The sky is so lonely without any planets at sunrise or sunset like we had all summer and fall. And it's no accident that at this moment, Pluto is there too. Pluto, the Sun and Venus are going to keep moving on, and Pluto is still hanging out in Capricorn for another 5 years or more, but right now they're together. And Venus is dipping into that underworld death energy and bringing it up, because the light does not work without the dark. Life does not exist without the dying and the releasing of life to make new life and more life. And so where can you begin that? We are back now to the full moon, and how are you going to activate the brilliant energies of the sun, the expansive energies of Pluto, to bring life to the feminine in you and to do that healing dance with the feminine wound. And all of us have it, male and female. It's not exclusively about gender. It is about what whole and holy parts have been repressed. The parts of you that are emotional, that feel, that are empathic and empathetic and compassionate and sensual, and know that you are a part of this great whole and that you must love and allow yourself to be loved by the whole. This is the energy that creates the new world. This is the energy that preserves what we have. This is the energy that knows how to collaborate with life. So as you dance under the full moon, dancing or drumming, remember that Venus is visiting Pluto. And it is a very dramatic, romantic, sexy love story. And it's happening in this, it happens to be in the 7th house of this chart, so it kind of emphasizes the idea of relationship. It also is in Capricorn, so it is looking at corporations, institutions, and governments, and sending a signal of a real and permanent transformation, and doing so in a way that feels like it's possible. So let us make it so together and inside of you. That's the full moon reading for the full moon in Leo, which is happening now and is definitely happening on Thursday. And if you want to know how all this plays out in your natal chart, reach out to me for a Divine Feminine Astrology reading, your natal reading. And I also have something new where you can get your natal reading, and you can get you can contract with me for a retainer where we will get together every month and update your reading for what's going on that month in the sky. So that's an incredible new service that I am delighted to offer. And this full moon, this is the first full moon in 2021. So it's a good time. It's a good time to put all this energy to work for your dreams and what you are creating, because what you are creating is so important and so needed. I am Carla, the Cosmic Crone, and I wish you a very blessed full moon.